Hello. We're here to talk a little bit about the departmental induction that we started for the haematology and oncology units at our hospital. A little bit about where I'm from and what we do. So Leicester, you can see, is the green dot in the middle. And we're part of East Midlands Deanery. And as part of our simulation centre, we deliver simulation to approximately a current cohort of 270 medical students, the trust staff, as well as delivering simulation in coordination with centres in Derby, Nottingham and Northampton for the East Midlands Deanery. So we've got quite a lot of catchment area and quite a lot going on. The haematology and oncology departments at UHL is also based at the Leicester Royal Infirmary, which is the glamorous 70s building you can see. It's the best picture I could find of the place. And they treat roughly about 5,000 inpatients per year. Okay, so departmental induction. So probably common with all of you, it's one of those things that tends to be a continued problem. Within the Department of Haematology and Oncology, they have 10 to 12 doctors rotating, and they range from FY2 to SPR. The department runs those inductions to try and give them familiarity, confidence, and integrate them to the existing hospital team. Within UHL, there's no set standards regarding content or delivery methods, and as a result, it tends to be a little bit chaotic. It's often cumbersome and definitely didactic. And we find as well that speakers often cancel at short notice, which means that affects on the delivery of the content of the information, as all the information not being delivered at all. The current agenda consists of a day and a half of short talks, which are specific to the haematology and oncology department, along with half a day of UHL-specific induction information. And evidence from the literature sort of suggests that this style of induction is poor in engaging those who attend it, and fails to prepare those who come. And it certainly suggested this from feedback we got from the haematology and oncology department, that many felt the talks weren't specific for them, and when they went into the department, there was still a high degree of anxiety amongst the juniors who were attending there. So back in about 2017, I was approached by Dr. Millan and Dr. Hodgson, who are an SBR and a consultant in the department, to see what they could do to improve departmental induction. We thought about introducing simulation as a way of engaging those who attend, as also giving them experience with treating with some of the more unusual cases that they might not have had experience with. They felt that they could compress the existing departmental day to free up half a day. And there was a few things that lent themselves that we thought simulation might be a good mode for us to use. Firstly, the small group sizes of 10 to 15 doctors. And secondly, the fact that we're dealing with intact teams, so they'd all be working together. There were a few constraints, so we were limited obviously to a half a day, which boiled down to even shorter, because essentially we don't get them till about 2 o'clock, even though it says 1 o'clock on their talks in the morning, inevitably overrun. And there is a need for all group members, so if we've got a maximum number of 15 doctors, to gain experience in those simulations. So to try and overcome this, we used vertical escalation in our simulations, and we adapted a gaming exercise in order to give them experience with prioritisation and decision making. So the tactical decision game, we used this because out of hours there's just one junior doctor to cover all the haematology and oncology wards, and SBRs for both specialties are non-resident. So it's often vital that they're able to prioritise what can be very sick and very alien cases to them. The TGD is a game that was taken and developed from Trent Simulation Centre and was developed by Dr. Nick Woodyer for Foundation Doctors, and we had adapted it to help it prioritisation within the oncology department. So what we tend to do is split candidates into two groups, and they'll consist a group of FY2 all the way through to SBR. And they're told that they're basically they're the on-call team. They have a board like this, which they can write on in their team, where they've got listed all the various patients around the hospital that they've got to go and see and review. And they're told that they've got 5 minutes to go round and prioritise those patients. At the end of the 5 minutes, they have to feed back to the rest of the group on who they've allocated where and their rationale for it. The discussion's then facilitated by an experienced SPR who's currently been in haematology and oncology rotation, as well as a consultant. It's probably important to point out that there's no right or wrong answers on how they actually address or allocate to these patients, but what it does do is give them some of important considerations that they might not otherwise pick up on. So following the game, we move on into the simulations, and the afternoon is made up of 3 simulations, but one is time shifted, so it's essentially there's 4 scenarios. So the first one we run is a neutropenic sepsis in a teenager and young adult. We've then got a metastatic spinal cord compression in a patient with an unknown primary, and that's then further complicated with a hyperkalemia due to AKI. And the third one is a sickle cell chest crisis. And when they get to the point of deciding they want to treat with a blood transfusion, we send in the next team to take handover and take over the management of the patient. And the patient then has a transfusion reaction. All the scenarios have 2 to 3 doctors in them, and we try to run them as a team. So that if there's an FY present, they will be the first one in. They have the option then to escalate to their SHO as they see fit, and then consequently they've got the help and support of a registrar. Faculty play the role of a Confederate nurse, and with the last 2 scenarios we've got an oncology specialist nurse who takes over that role. If they're being a bit slow to hand over, then faculty will take on and find a reason to insert the next senior member of the team, just to make sure that everyone gets a chance at participation during the scenarios. So all of our doctors who attended the haematology induction course were asked to complete a questionnaire at the end of the course and 1 month later. The course basically asked them to rate their confidence with managing a number of haematology and oncology scenarios versus a number of straightforward medical scenarios, which we'd expect them to have experience with already. And to the time of doing this, we've had 31 doctors who've completed the new induction training and the 1 month follow-up questionnaire. So initially post-sim, you can see that obviously the confidence in them improved. I think it's also a little bit interesting that the confidence regarding the control or the medical ones, there was some slight improvement there. Paired t-test showed that there was significant improvement in managing those emergencies following the sim. And this was maintained in about 80% of junior doctors 1 month on for the simulation. And 83% of doctors rated this induction program as excellent compared to other departmental inductions. I'd always say take this with a bit of salt because it's compared to being sat in a lecture theatre for 2 days. In conclusion then, we felt the new induction course significantly helped with the junior doctors confident in managing complex haematology cases. And you can sort of infer that they took that into their departments and were able to hit the ground running a bit faster with that, specifically with them being able to feel confident 1 month following on as well. Okay, so going forward, it's embedded as part of haematology and induction. I think one of the key things that they've done that is that they've really taken ownership of it. They've just handed over to their third SBR, who's taken the lead role for coordinating the induction for simulations. However, if you're sort of going forward, then the Sim Centre becomes the limiting factor in being able to do this. We are a very busy department, and to try and incorporate everybody on the same day would be nigh on impossible. I think there are several solutions as to how we take this and take it forward. So an ideal would be to take this into the departmental training spaces, and I think that has quite a lot going for it in the fact that you get people used to the equipment, the systems, the processes, the environmental factors within that specific area. So, for example, renal are one area that considered doing this for their inductions, and using a dialysis machine or how you deal with a dialysis machine in cardiac arrest is a key thing that people need to learn to use. That's something that's far better achieved within their department. Probably a theme that's come over again is probably that you don't need a high fidelity mannequin to run these inductions. Certainly in the haematology and oncology, rarely do we go to full arrest with them. It's often about managing cases and thinking about different aspects of it. And using lower fidelity mannequins are certainly appropriate in this sort of simulation. And we use it alongside with iPads that are able to run a simple app on them that allows us to show vital signs on. It also sort of helps with reducing your introduction to the environment. People don't need to know how to use a fancy ALS mannequin or compared to a sim man. Also, is key is ownership by the department. I can't sort of stress this enough that as far as the Sim Centre for their inductions for haematology oncology, they're on about their fourth iteration at the moment of this, and they very much book the space as they have tech support to run it, and they may have myself or another member of faculty as a confederate nurse, or they may supply that from their own department. They've all been through on faculty development. They've started off not knowing much about SIMS, got to the point now where they can run them independently now they've got the material developed. So, and as it said there, is that we've got two other departments that are now considering this method of induction to roll it out. Okay, thank you. Any questions? Oh, I'm ahead of time. How good's that?
Well done.